Y'all, I never thought I would be doing this episode the way that I'm doing this episode because I'm a big advocate for talking about your triggers and getting through your trauma, right? But recently, certain situations in my life has caused me to look at my own triggers, the triggers I thought I was over with. Okay? Welcome back to another episode of Robbie Rants The Podcast. The podcast we never knew we needed. I'm your host, Robbie Rants. So I think when we don't deal with problems or situations or traumas and triggers, right? I feel like they show up in other places and other spaces, and literally you are forced to deal with them. So I'm just gonna be very, very transparent. I'm dating this guy, right? And I have noticed there are a lot of things I may not have dealt with in my past, or a lot of hurt that I've been through, right? And it actually turns into anger if you don't talk about it. So this episode is really inspired by like self-awareness, self-growth, and empowering others to look at themselves and do the same because everybody's got some inner work to do. Also, this is why I encourage people, if you are dating out there, give your authentic self, because you don't want to be 5 years, 10 years down the line and you were literally hiding pieces of you. You know what I mean? And when people show you who they are, believe them. Now, I know, it kind of sounds like I'm like beating around the bush, but the truth is, I realized I had a lot of anger. I realized I can be explosive. I realized that I lack patience. And to work on these things, you have to talk about these things, right? Like you have to be aware about the things you have to work on in order to work on them. I think we hide these parts from the world and ourselves because we have this image of like, oh my God, they're gonna judge me. Or like, oh my God, like I really got fucking work to do. No shade. You know what I mean? So it's really important to like start the inner work and look at yourself and be like, how can I assess this situation better? How can I react better? And to be honest, when it comes to dating, it's a choice. Like you have to really look at yourself. Um, and you can choose what you can tolerate and you can choose what you can't. But if you are adding to the fire, or if you're not helping the situation, if you're not being empathetic or understanding, then maybe you shouldn't date if you don't want to grow. I'm just saying out there, y'all, for the people, because a lot of people are stuck in their ways, and a lot of people don't want to look at themselves and be like, okay, how can I be better in this situation? The word is conflict resolution. A lot of people can bring the conflict, but there's no resolution. Like a lot of people, even in friendships, in dating, family, like there's always conflict on both parts, but no one wants to say like, hey, what can we do to resolve this? How have I contributed to the toxicity? And that's literally just what it is. We're going to call it out. It's toxicity. How have you contributed to the toxicity? And do you want to learn from it? Do you want to grow from it? Is this person um, morals and values align with you? You know what I mean? Like, and these are choices and conversations you're going to have with each other in order to move forward. But that's if you want to move forward, because what I realized is I had to do some more work, right? If I wanted to continue to date this person, if I wanted to continue to be around this person, I had to do more work. And let's be clear, they had work to do too, okay? Make sure that's reciprocated and make sure you're not doing in one-sided shit, okay? That's a PSA. Just want to say that. No, but for real, y'all, on the real, I really had to look at myself and I really had to look at what my triggers were and why. And really sit and dissect, like, is this coming from them? Or is it coming from trauma? Is it coming from pain? Is it coming from like all the hurt that I've been through, you know what I mean? And you can't project that onto people. Like, you really can't. And I definitely learned that in these past couple of weeks. And I figured it was great to share. So, with that being said, take a look at yourself. Take a look at what makes you tick, literally. Take a look at what your triggers are and why. And if you don't talk about them, they literally will live and manifest in other situations. Like, some of these things that were popping up or making me angry or make me feel some type of way, I thought I've like let go or been through. But because I haven't really dated in so long, like somebody serious, that it's like a lot of that hurt, a lot of that trauma, a lot of those triggers were just pushed under the rug. And like, we don't talk about these things. We also don't always have the best safe space to talk about these things. So I also think it's really important, when you're dating or just in any relationships, create a safe space, create a moment of vulnerability, a moment of transparency, and have that moment to talk about your triggers, talk about what's bothering you, talk about the past. If you don't, it literally can destroy great relationships. You can lose out on good, genuine people because you don't want to deal with the past, or you don't want to talk about, what that ex did to you. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people are in relationships for position and not purpose. And it's super important to like know your purpose and why you're with someone or why you want to date someone. Because a lot of times people just do it to do it. A lot of times people just do it for maybe finances. A lot of times people do it to, pretend like they have their shit together. And real relationships require real work, and you have to really do the shadow work. So, this episode was really to encourage you to start talking about your triggers. There might be things going on in your mind that you may not be expressing to your partner, or traumas or triggers that you're holding back. Talk to them. It's okay to let it out. It's okay to grow through it together. I think it's super important to really acknowledge the past so you can build a better future. Again, if you choose to, if it's reciprocated, let's talk about your triggers, okay? So thank you for joining me in another episode of Robbie Rants The Podcast. And I'll see you next time. Oh, you know.